All right, put my PowerPoint. All right, here's my PowerPoint, guys. I'm starting it. So, Dajahao, Wajia Jose, if you already didn't know my name. This is my cultural presentation on US and China trade relations. So to start off, I will introduce some of the tensions that have caused this animosity between the two nations. The US fears China's ability to rapidly upgrade their industrial structure, threatening the US as a superpower, especially in the technology industry. This includes computers, 5G networks, semiconductor production, and artificial intelligence. China is now technologically equivalent to Europe, Japan, and in some fields, even the US. During 2017, we see the first aggression made in response to the Made in China 2025 initiative. The aggressive act is imposed trade sanctions by President Trump, which snowballs a reaction from Congress to pass the Fiscal Year National Defense Authorization Act. This sets in place a lot of policies, making it extremely difficult to trade with China. That's from the import and export side. Then in January 2018, the Trump administration makes a decision to drastically tax imports of Chinese solar panels and washing machines. China responds with their own custom barriers and boycott threats. Relatively a small reaction to a hefty tax imposition from the US, but with all this tension building up, one can see an impending trade war. Then on March 23rd, 2018, wouldn't you know, the foreseen trade war starts as Trump announces an increase on China's exports due to the 301 investigation. The 301 investigation is some of the first official findings by the US government that show that China has implemented laws, policies, practices that may encourage or require the transfer of American technology and intellectual property. And to simply put that, there was evidence found that unknown data mining of US citizens was occurring by the Chinese government. Here we can see a timeline of the actions at the beginning of the trade war and throughout it. Starting with April 4, 2018, the US issues a 25% tariff increase on Chinese goods worth $50 billion. Also, on that same day, Trump imposes actions against companies that affiliate with the Made in China 2025 plan. On April 16th, Trump places a 7-year block on Chinese technology company ZTE from purchasing any sensitive American technology. On July 16, 2018, the US president places an additional 25% import tariff tax costing $34 billion dollars. And on May 2019, the US raises certain tariffs on Chinese goods from 10% to 25%. This is a hefty 20 billion US dollars. So what are the effects of this war? Being that these two countries hold the most economic power in the world, their dispute does not solely affect them, but economies around the world. Both sides suffer and no one wins. The US feels the consequences in certain sections of their agriculture as China follows through with their boycott threats and no longer imports American soybeans. China also suffers as well as it faces, for the first time, economic slowdown. The US and China trade war causes a major disruption to worldwide trade. Although there are some emerging economies that benefit from these times and conflicts. For example, Vietnam has experienced fast growth in their textile industry as their exportation to the US has gone up 40% in 2019, showing a 9% increase of their total national GDP. Doesn't seem like a lot, but those are really big numbers. The factor that this is a factor of the U.S. taking the majority or all their textile manufacturing needs out of China and placing them in different Asian countries, in this case, Vietnam. Within the first year of the trade war, the US monthly revenue shows a whopping decrease of $1.4 billion. Many Chinese and US companies believe new structural projects and innovations will emerge due to this war. With China cut off from trade and no access to certain technology, they now engage in technological competition with the US. Go to the next slide. There are more direct effects that take place in China. Relatively recent economic prosperity has fueled Chinese aspirations to achieve global technology supremacy. As the trade war commences, Chinese local governments allocate available resources to high-tech industries. Issued in May 2015 by Premier Li, the Made in China 2025 initiative is a national strategic plan for the People's Republic of China to develop a core of 10 manufacturing sectors within a 10-year timeframe. Those 10 sectors being electrical equipment, farming machines, new materials, new energy vehicles, robotics, information technology, aerospace equipment, railway equipment, marine engineering, and medical devices. The goal is to become a global superpower, to have the ability to self-sustain and not be dependent on foreign technology. With all these plans for national development in effect, the Chinese government feels hostility from the US, European Union, and Germany, because now China is forced to be seen as an actual competitor. So a year into the war in 2019, little to no progression is made for a trade treaty. Instead, President Trump goes to Twitter to announce additional tariffs of 10%, equaling to $300 billion worth of taxes. This is the largest tax sanction yet by the US or Trump himself. Even if a trade deal is reached, tensions will run high for decades to come. On December 12, 2019, the first stages of a trade agreement start, surprisingly. Then, on January 15, 2020, a promising agreement is put in place. So when countries like these two want to seek out a resolution to a trade war, they'll reach out to an international institution, in this case, the World Trade Organization, to mediate and to find a solution. Although this new trade agreement is short-lived, as Trump continues to place restrictions on US tech companies from selling products to Chinese competitors. Pending a trade war, China puts into play a few infrastructure plans, including the Made in China 2025 plan we previously talked about. The trade war impacts resources allocated in China's local government development. These effects create an increase on the size of land granted to high-tech companies by the local governments. China's land supervision system states that the central government controls the amount of land resources, while local governments are in control of their own land use. For every 1% of tariff increase that the US imposes, land supply to the Chinese technology industry increases by 0.25%. Competition with local government emerges as incentives for promotions drive officials to develop land for the cheapest to show the best economic growth. So this rivalry seems like it will never die. Now technology has become the focus of political, military, and economic power, giving whoever is at the forefront of innovation the spot of global technology leader. Competition to reach global leadership is attained through 5 technology areas. First, being innovation systems, which has already been in effect with the Made in China 2025 plan. Second is artificial intelligence. But along with having the top AI specialists in the US holds 80% of the database that is used to operate these AI systems. Third is semiconductors, which are essential for all electronic products. And China creates a 60% of the world demand for these products. The fourth is internet networks. China leads this as they have implemented a 5G infrastructure for all internet devices. Fifth is the new moon race. As the US seeks to launch astronauts to the moon in 2024, the Chinese see this as a competition and construct the Chinese spacecraft, Change 4, with the goal to explore the dark side of the moon. This continuous trade war has turned into a tech war, also possibly a start to a Cold War with China. All right, so in conclusion, we see high tension strain the relationship between the US and China. China experiences vast economic growth that puts the US and other world powers at unease. Trade war commences due to the strained relations of high tariffs, boycotts, and information mining conducted by China. Faced with conflict, China formulates solutions to sustain themselves and compete globally. US attempts to stop technological growth of countries, which ensures a tech war. Competition to become the global leader ensues. Battle for tech supremacy sends us into another Cold War. Okay, so here are my questions. My first one is, how many core manufacturing sectors are targeted in the Made in 2025, the Made in China 2025 initiative? Second question is, what areas are China and the US competing in to become global technology leaders? The third question is, I know it's open-ended, so feel free to voice your opinion. What do you believe the outcome of the trade tech war will be? All right, thank you. Oh, and lastly, thanks for listening. Here's my bibliography. Appreciate y'all. Whoop-de-whoop.